to gold and silver. Throughout history, they've been struck in just about any metal you can imagine. Join us in our quest for rare coins right here on Treasure Search.
Sometimes treasure hunting by yourself, getting out real early in the morning, is a kind of personal therapy. You forget about everything else and your thoughts just sort of drift back to another time in history. Today it's windy and there's a chill in the air, but it doesn't matter. To work a site like this is well worth it.
Today, through his travels and research, Bob has found what's left of a very old landmark, a church dating well back into the 1800s. Now it's time to fire up his metal detector and hope that his efforts will pay off.
Old churches have always been very good sites for vintage coin recovery. In the past, the church, aside from being the center of a town's religious affiliation, it was also the social conscience and a political voice. In other words, lots of people use the church on a daily basis, and that's precisely why the grounds hold so many lost items.
In time, the first signal is encountered, and the ID meter on the instrument reads 25-cent piece. From experience, Bob knows that the odds are very good the detector has properly identified the signal, but there is a small chance the target may not be true.
Like any instrument, the ID meter of the metal detector can read incorrectly, but in identifying coins, they're easily correct 90% of the time.
But this time, the accuracy is uncanny as he unearths a seated Liberty quarter, minted between 1838 and 1891. The U.S. 25-cent piece has changed 3 times since the seated Liberty design, and currently carries the bust of George Washington. Keep in mind that quarters struck before 1965 were minted in real silver, which gives them bullion value as well as value for antiquity.
Sometimes, after the first recovery, you can just feel it in your bones. It's going to be good. The ground is right, the metal detector is penetrating well, and your sixth sense is honing in on treasure almost like a radar. Sometimes you find things, odd trinkets and such, and you ask yourself, why is this here? And there's no real answer to that question. I guess people carry the darndest things in their pockets.
As the morning wanes, more targets are unearthed, including silver coins and a token. There was a time in the past when tokens were almost as common as coinage. Business establishments minted these tokens to exchange in a barter system, part of what might have been considered the underground economy.
Compared to government-issued coinage, there were many, many more kinds of tokens produced in the United States, and yet the collecting world is just starting to recognize their value. Because of these factors, it's much harder to identify and appraise tokens at this time, but that will change in the future.
One of the most valuable coins ever minted was actually a mistake. In 1943, due to the copper shortage of World War II, the Lincoln cent was struck in zinc-coated steel, but a few, and we don't know really how many, were accidentally struck in copper. They're extremely rare and quite valuable. You better check your pocket change, huh? Stay tuned. Our search continues after this.
Anytime you find a coin that dates back into the 1800s or older, it's time to celebrate. There's a special accomplishment in unearthing something from another century. Normally, at a site like this, I'd change to a larger diameter search coil to penetrate deeper. But the ground is very firm here and the signals are shallow, so it's not necessary. We find a lot of older foreign coins, especially European varieties, simply because of the heavy immigration in the past. I imagine that pocket full of change was just about all many of the immigrants had besides the shirt on their back. They're very interesting to find, and it's a lot of fun trying to identify them. At sites where I have success, I like to record and document what I've found. A lot of treasure hunters feel that to preserve the artifacts of the past, we have to take an active role in preserving historical records as well. Someday in the future, these records may well be used by archaeologists or historians and may become a valuable contribution to our heritage.
Treasure hunters like to think old. They know that the best sites to find vintage coins and collectibles are places where people may have congregated in the past. The smart searcher knows how to use the local library and other sources to research possible locations. In essence, the metal detecting enthusiast becomes somewhat of an amateur historian, because knowing the history of the area can lead to a wealth of lost valuables.
There's no question that the most exciting part of treasure hunting, regardless of what you're searching for, is the discovery itself. But for most hunters, the task of researching is what makes that all possible. Not only at the library and digging into books, but studying maps, old newspapers, going to the local historical society, even basic word of mouth from senior citizens who can remember places and events in your hometown that happened long before you were even born. So don't underestimate the results of digging into history. And even though some treasure hunters say it's boring, I'll guarantee you that the hunters who spend some time researching ultimately find more valuables.
There are literally hundreds of generic treasure hunting sites that exist all over America. How about the local carnival or fairgrounds? Old schools, parks, picnic groves, old home sites, forgotten trails, and even your own backyard all have possibilities. For well over 200 years here in America, people have been losing coins and other related collectibles. Numismatic experts who track the values of rare coinage can relate some very interesting facts about trends in the coin collecting industry.
Without a doubt, coins are one of the most popular of all collectibles. I think part of their lure is they're easy to date and identify. But most important, they're part of our heritage. And I might add, the last 50 years has proven that collecting high-grade U.S. coins can be a very profitable investment.
Even though there are extremely valuable coins that can be bought and stashed away as an investment, it's amazing the personal satisfaction you get from digging your own. I'd rather find a common wheatback cent and unearth it from a site and say, hey, I found this, than to invest money into rare coins. Now don't get me wrong, I think coins are a great investment, but think about this. Try digging your own coins and sell and trade those up to investment grade coins for a profit without any cash involved. Now that's using your assets to the highest benefit.
We're still on the treasure trail, so stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. say you can't judge a book by its cover, and that certainly applies to treasure hunting sites. This fairly modern schoolhouse now occupies the area, but what existed in the past is what makes this spot a potential coin hunting paradise. On this search, Bob Trevillian has teamed up with one of his old treasure hunting buddies, Crandall Phipps, a retired welder who spends almost all his free time pursuing the rewards of metal detecting for lost valuables.
This type of site is really a bonus. With several different schools from different decades, there's a chance for a wide variety of recoveries, and there's a lot of ground to cover, and that means more treasure.
Aside from their metal detecting instrument, both men wear headphones to hear what they refer to as those deep, faint signals that usually turn out to be the oldest and more valuable coins. A digging tool and a pouch to hold their recoveries rounds out the rest of their gear, and they're ready to begin their search.
The reason I like treasure hunting is you never know what you're going to find. I love being outdoors. I'm retired now, so I can go where I want, when I want, and it relaxes me. And I just enjoy it all the way around.
I've hunted a lot of treasure, but this is what we call bread and butter. This is the kind of treasure that you can find consistently. The big ones, the buried chest of gold and the old stolen stagecoach loot, are still out there to pursue. But this is instant gratification. There's really no feeling like filling your pouch with treasure during an afternoon's hunt.
Today is an especially good hunt, as a wide variety of metallic treasures lost over many years at the site are unearthed. Indian head nickels are plentiful, but in rather poor condition because of the acidic soil. Nickel, copper, and bronze tarnish and pit after exposure to the underground elements. On the other hand, gold and silver tend to keep their beauty even under the most severe cases of ground mineralization.
You know, Crandall, when we're out here hunting this old school like this, and of course this brings back a little bit of memories for me when I was a kid. My pockets were filled with all kinds of stuff. How about you?
Yeah, well, what little bit I had, if I was out on school ground, playground, it went. I don't know where it went, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't there.
It could be coins, little toy prizes that we might have got out of Cracker Jack boxes, anything like that.
Well, what have you had in your pocket?
You lost it, right?
It was lost.
Absolutely.
You're right. The reason I got into this hobby was just for the fun of it, but now I see I can pay for all my detectors and everything I need. It pays for itself, and it's just getting bigger all the time. I'm finding more and enjoying it more. Oh, when I'm out there hunting, I listen for the real deep signals, and when I first started, I didn't really realize I was getting them, but the experience, now I know what to listen for.
The men continue to recover bits and pieces of antiquity throughout the afternoon. And here, A real pleasant surprise, a premium from the early days of radio and television. A time when kids mailed away for the secret decoder rings and official badges, when little orphan Annie and the Shadow ruled the radio waves. Later, the small screen would come to life with the likes of the Lone Ranger and Sky King.
These kinds of premiums are especially gratifying to find. The small guns are mainly from the old Western and the old Army television shows. With Crandall, finds like these are routine. He's a lucky guy, but he's also a very skillful treasure hunter. He works hard at it, and he has a lot of success to show for it.